When you think of a heart attack, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For most of us, it's probably some dramatic scene from a movie. But the real story, well, it's often a lot quieter, way more complex, and it usually starts years before that big dramatic event. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden story. So let's just start with a question to kind of frame this whole thing. What if the very first warning sign your body sent you about a heart attack had absolutely nothing to do with your chest? What if there was a clear signal, but we've all been looking in the completely wrong place? Well, it turns out for a significant number of men, the canary in the coal mine for a major heart problem is actually erectile dysfunction. Now, this isn't just about quality of life. Research is showing pretty clearly that it's a critical and way too often overlooked predictor of what's to come. So why is this connection so important to understand? Honestly, because getting this isn't just interesting, it could literally save a life. And it all boils down to a pretty simple idea. The whole reason for this connection is surprisingly simple. It's something called the artery size hypothesis. Think of it like plumbing. The arteries in the penis are tiny. We're talking just 1 to 2 millimeters across. Now compare that to the coronary arteries feeding your heart, which are bigger, around 3 to 4 millimeters. So when plaque starts building up in your system, where is it going to cause a blockage first? Right, in those smaller pipes. It's basic physics really, but with life or death consequences. And here's the most crucial takeaway. The appearance of ED gives you a window of opportunity. The research is very clear on this. From the moment erectile dysfunction begins, there's often a 2 to 5 year gap before a major cardiac event, like a heart attack or a stroke. This isn't just a symptom. It's a lead time. It's your body giving you a heads up, a chance to get things checked out and make some changes before something catastrophic happens. Okay, so that's the early morning. But what about the event itself? Just like the first sign is often misunderstood, the actual heart attack, yeah, it rarely plays out like it does in a Hollywood script. We all know the scene, right? Someone grabs their chest, they gasp for air, they dramatically fall to the floor. But in real life, it's often so much more subtle. It can feel like bad indigestion, maybe the flu, or even just a pulled muscle. And this difference isn't just a fun fact, it's incredibly dangerous because it causes people to wait, to dismiss the signs, instead of getting the help they desperately need. In fact, get this. An estimated 50% of all heart attacks show up with these atypical symptoms. Half. Let that sink in. That means for every single obvious movie-style heart attack, there's another one that's just whispering for help, not shouting. So what do these whispers actually sound like? Well, this review shows some of the most common ones. GI discomfort is a huge one, something that feels just like heartburn. Then there's atypical chest pain, meaning it doesn't have that classic crushing feeling. And even fainting. Any one of these could be the only sign you get. And the list of these weird signals just keeps going. I mean, we're talking about things like hiccups that just won't go away, or pain in your ear or jaw, a sudden crushing fatigue that comes out of absolutely nowhere, or breaking out in a cold sweat for no reason at all. It's a whole spectrum of subtle signs that your body is in serious trouble. And if you think that's surprising, check this out. A major study in the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at people who had physical evidence, actual scars on their heart muscle, of a past heart attack. And a shocking 80% of them were completely unaware it had ever even happened. 80%. They just brushed it off as something else. This all brings us to the psychological side of things. Because whether the symptoms are loud or quiet, surviving a heart attack is a profound, totally life-altering event. It's what so many survivors call a true brush with death. And what's really fascinating is how we as humans often react in that moment, with denial. This quote from a survivor just captures it perfectly. He knew it was his heart. But his first impulse wasn't to call 911. It was to go home and do normal things. Take a shower, eat, have a cigarette, almost like he was trying to convince himself that everything was okay. But eventually, reality hits, and it hits hard. For this patient, that moment came in the hospital, when the surgeon just laid out the odds. That cold, hard number, a 2% chance of dying right there on the table, that's what finally cut through all the denial. It's that direct confrontation with your own mortality that really defines the experience. And that confrontation, it doesn't just end when you walk out of the hospital. The recovery process creates this huge psychological challenge, forcing a lot of men to face a completely different person when they look in the mirror. This quote just gets right to the core of what some researchers call broken masculinity. That feeling of being invincible, of being bulletproof, it's just shattered. The new physical limits, the sense of vulnerability, it's a direct hit to your identity. That guy who was 10 feet tall and bulletproof just isn't there anymore. And this creates an incredible amount of pressure. Men often feel like they have to hide their fear, hide their weakness, to keep up that appearance of being the strong one for the family. They put on a game face for everyone else, and that is just emotionally exhausting. It isolates them right when they need support the most. And this challenge to identity continues long after the physical recovery. The impact on sexuality is a huge but often unspoken part of this journey. It can be a side effect from medications, it can be psychological fear, or a mix of both. And it just reinforces that feeling of being broken, making it that much harder to feel whole again. So, when you put all of this together, from the very first warning signs all the way through to the psychological recovery, what's the takeaway? What should the new playbook for men's heart health actually look like? Well, it seems to come down to 4 key things. First, we have to recognize those earliest signs, like ED, for the critical warnings they are. Second, we have to listen to our body's subtle signals and stop dismissing things like fatigue or indigestion as nothing. Third, we need to acknowledge that recovery is a psychological journey, not just a physical one. And fourth, and maybe most importantly, speak up. Break the silence. Ask for help, both from doctors and from the people who love you. So, if you only take a few things away from all this, let it be these 3. 1. Erectile dysfunction can be a critical early warning sign for heart disease. 2. Heart attacks often whisper with subtle, confusing symptoms. They don't always shout with chest pain. And 3. The emotional and psychological recovery is every bit as important as the physical one. Which really just leaves us with a final question to think about. For decades, we've been telling ourselves one very specific story about what a heart attack is, but the evidence is clear. It's time for a new story. So the question is, if we can redefine the symptoms, if we can finally start to understand the real story of a heart attack, can we rewrite the ending for millions of people?